When I started my nonprofit career, I was deadly afraid of fundraising, and then something happened. I realized that in order for me to support the programs that I cared so deeply about, I needed to confront and conquer my fear of fundraising. You ever had that feeling where you just can't figure out how to fundraise or where to get the money from to support a program that helps needy families or to support saving the puppies and the whales that are important to our environment and culture? Hi, my name is Dr. William Clark, and I host the Dr. William Clark podcast. During this podcast, we talk about simplifying the fundraising strategies so that you can raise six figures without chasing funders. This podcast is designed just for you, nonprofit leaders who need the resources necessary to support the programs you love the most. Go ahead and subscribe to this show, and not only do that, but comment and share this show with your friends and colleagues. All right, Star, just want to make sure we got it straight. Can I record this session and share with the podcast family with our nonprofit group?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So just really quick for everybody watching this case study, Star has a wonderful organization called Nita's Silent Hands, and it's a nonprofit focused on the deaf community. So Star, just to answer your question about how to just get in the start in the right direction when it comes to fundraising for your organization. I'm thinking of all types of ideas, and I'm just trying to keep my notes together and trying to write down as fast as I could to kind of keep up with you because there's so many things I want to say to you. But let me just start with with the core, right? There are three things I teach my students, and you heard a little bit about this when you took one of my classes. But there are three things I teach my students and clients when it comes to fundraising. The first thing to consider, but is the third fastest way to fundraise, is to have a strategy. Okay. When you have a strategy, an action plan, a strategic plan, or whatever case may be, that is the third fastest way to raise money. The second fastest way to raise money is through performance. When you perform, especially when you have money in hand, or when you've been awarded a grant, it unlocks money much, much faster than you can imagine. And then the fastest way to raise money is through relationships. Now, I want to offer some thoughts in context of all three of these secrets for you so that you can begin to fundraise. Some of this you may be doing. So it may be affirmation. Some of you're about to hear, you may not have thought about or considered at all. So, you got new ideas. I loved the fact that you talked about a shirt, right? And I think that there's something about shirts. I'm not a big fan of t-shirts, but everybody does t-shirts, like whatever, right? But there's something about just when you said it, it just felt a little different than the average t-shirt fundraiser. I would encourage you, as a part of your strategy, the third fastest way to raise money, to think about swag that you can create that's relevant to your organization, because your story is so interesting to me. I remember I did an event 3 years ago at a community school, and one of the mothers came up and she was deaf. And so, watching her interact with her child who was interpreting, we were doing a barbecue, back to school barbecue and book bag giveaway, and the mom was communicating and the child was communicating back. And I just stood there just in awe of the communication. And I learned that sign language is like another full language. And so while your story, which is your story and is not going to be a part of this podcast, I think a lot of kids relate to that. But then the interesting thing I thought about was in the midst of your frustration, you inherently learned a second language. I'm not sure if you know the language, right? I also thought about, you are no different from a child of an immigrant who moved to another country. You were born in this country, but your mom came from a different country, right? Deaf, right? And so as a result, you've had to learn to communicate to mom, and you've had to learn to bridge the gap between mom and the world. And so you were in a unique place as a kid, and continue to be. And so that is so interesting to me. But the swag is something so interesting, because when I heard about the shirt, but then you said the pins are something that's resonated with me a lot. I think that if you're going to do the shirts, I recommend you do a polo shirt, not a t-shirt. because your story speaks to a shirt that is beyond just something you throw on and walk around the house with. Your shirt needs to be like the one I have on, a button up with a logo on it, a polo with the logo on it, stitched on it. And I don't know why it's resonating with me, but it speaks quality. It speaks, this is more than silkscreen. This is something that is relevant to all of us. This is not the average, let's say the whales and puppy type nonprofit. This is, man, a real thing, particularly in African American communities and other communities at large. And I think that when you talk about swag, I want to see you elevate it, right? You're going to have to get the pricing on this, but do not be afraid of the cost of producing this. What you need to do once you get the cost is to elevate your price to your supporters. Okay. 30, 40, 50, 60% above your cost. That's how much you need to sell it for. And because of your story as a kid, because of what you're doing now, your story is going to sell t-shirts. The shirt itself, or sell polos and button-ups. The shirt itself is irrelevant. It's the story you told me that would make me buy a shirt today. Does that make sense to you? So embrace that story. I also, in terms of swag, I love the pin idea. Especially if you get a company to buy into just your story, the story of their employees. I had an experience at a BJ's. You have a BJ's in your part of the country?
Yes, we do.
BJ, Sam's Club, Costco, all the same thing. And so I approached this woman because I was looking for a product, and I was talking to her. I said, "Hey, do you have this?" And she indicated that she was deaf. And I don't know what it is. It just made my heart melt, right? So I told my wife, I said, "Hey, baby, hold on 1 second. I'm on the phone with my wife trying to find this product." And so I bust out my phone and I just start texting on the note app, and we were going back and forth. And then she pulled out her phone and we were just going back and forth. And it was just like one of those human connections that I just felt it in my soul. And to have, for me, I just was so proud of this young lady getting a job, right? Being able to support herself. I was proud of BJ's, not to shout them out. I'm not sponsored by them, so everyone knows, but it just felt right. And she helped me. We couldn't find a product, and she was determined to give me some suggestions, and we were texting and we were signing, and I was trying to keep up, and then we were reading lips. It was amazing to me. That experience with that young lady is no different than the experience I have in my own office building, where the maintenance staff, they're Hispanic, and there have been several times I have been on campus at night, and I was trying to communicate. Now, I made it through high school Spanish, but I don't know Spanish, but one of the exciting things that happened was I pulled out a phone, put out an app, and the app I had was able to give me have a conversation back and forth. And so I was speaking into it, and then it read to him in Spanish, and then I hit the record button. He spoke in Spanish and read back to me, and it was a back and forth. And every time we see each other, right, I know my adios and hello and all that other stuff, right? But it's something about that connection and the pen. The pen is really speaking to me. I really think that even beyond a Deaf Awareness Month, you need to blow this pen out. And again, 30, 40, 50, 60% above your cost. It's not about the pen. It's about the story. It is about figuring out how speaking folks like us can connect with non-speaking folks like your mom and have that connection, that compassion, and to not treat them different, but treat them just as we would anybody else. And that pin that I'm wearing represents or tells a story that I'm a part of that community. I respect it. I understand it. For some reason, masks came to mind. Of course, it's the thing going on this year. Nita's silent hand mask, especially for the deaf community when they can't necessarily articulate, right? Being able to purchase masks, branded masks. I don't know if the clear mask can work, but something like that. The point I'm making is swag matters in this season for you. It is a big, big deal. And I think that should be a part of your fundraising strategy. Now, I'm sharing this with you, not because this is going to sustain your organization. It's not. This is the type of stuff you do to get the name out there, to get recognition out there, and it gives you practice to tell your story. But I think part of the strategy that I want to also infuse into your thinking is the idea of advocacy through consultancy. Okay. So you're consulting churches right now. I think there's a huge opportunity for you to consult organizations such as the one your mother works at, such as other organizations that do hire deaf individuals, right? Being able to not only advocate, but also educate and influence HR policy. If you're able to take your inherent knowledge as a child of a deaf parent, what you've learned and your academic and professional knowledge and craft it in HR talk, you're in a whole different stratosphere because now the nonprofit does work to support and help deaf people in all types of ways in advocacy. But then the nonprofit also charges a fee to train organizations on how to be a coworker of a deaf person, how to manage a deaf person, how to interview a deaf person, how to support a deaf person. And this also, for some reason, it came to my mind that you might want to consider a workforce development component of your nonprofit, right? Training the deaf community to prepare for work while you're also advocating. I see you're smiling, so it looks like I'm resonating. While you're also advocating, you said you want to earn income and do grants. This is how you're going to do it. In the swag, all three of these components, I just feel it in my bones. It's going to be major for you. And number two, the secret number two is performance. You need to start documenting results. All right. You need to start documenting what you have done. And if you've been able to get people placed in jobs, you need to start documenting that. If you've been training people for jobs, document that. Skills that you've been developing within the deaf community, document that. Advocacy work, document that. You need to start building a portfolio of things you've done because in order for you to hit the ground running, you need to make sure people are able to know that you can make this happen. But the key, I think, to all of this is the number one secret I share with my students, and that is you got to start establishing strong relationships. Okay. I don't know how old you are. Let's say you're 21. You have a lifetime of experience that cannot be replicated by any amount of schooling, any amount of working, any amount of training. You were born into this world and you have a lifetime of experience, over 20 years of experience doing this very thing. That is more than enough to launch this nonprofit. That is more than enough to launch your company or for-profit entity. That's more than enough to launch these swag items, right? So now that you have 20 plus years of experience doing this, living this life, being in this world, studying this world, being a student and an advocate, you now need to get relationships in place, relationships with companies. Now, when you start to do this, do not reach out to people who are not decision makers. I'm talking about CEOs and I'm talking about C-suite people who influence organizational policy and HR policy. That is those are the only people you're going to be talking to. Small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses. That is the focus from now on. As you think about how to make this happen, large companies. When you start looking at grants, you got to be very, very specific. The grants you're going to go after maybe some advocacy grants, great. Maybe some workforce development grants, great. Whatever you're doing, you got to be very, very specific. The scholarship program, you can use the swag to pay for that. You can use a gala, online gala to pay for that, which I think would be amazing because one, the online gala, you can have the speaking community attend, but the deaf community can also watch and attend through a Zoom app, right? So this has the potential to really do amazing things. Well, with that said, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to just give you a chance to respond. Let me know how that's sitting with you.
So that sits well with me because you basically have, without even hearing that side yet, confirmed what I felt in my gut that needed to be done for the community. And so that when you say you saw me smiling, it's because I was like, okay, yep, I saw this in a dream. I saw basically the full workforce. What I saw was creating a full training center to provide jobs for the deaf community so they're able to, one of the things that I see with the deaf community is they do live in poverty. And I was like, we have to bring them out of that, but somehow, some way it has to be done, but not just by getting a job, teaching them that the way that they can get a job and different things that they can be trained in to make a sustainable life, you know. So you said that, and I was just like, yeah, don't cry on this call because you're about to. So just hold it together. But
Everybody's watching.
but he's speaking exactly what you saw. And so, yes, absolutely. That you confirmed that for me. So now it's just about putting it into play and getting the right direction, getting in the right direction for that.
So we got 4 minutes left, right? And I do want to just dig in just a little bit more to kind of give you insight. Now, there are different ways you can play this. I can't cover everything for the remainder of this call, but let's say for the sake of argument, you're going to go after grants. The deaf community can definitely fill some huge opportunities. Now, I know the part of the country where you are in the South, there are opportunities that are available there and in or around you. And I think that your ability to not only prepare the job seeker who's deaf for the world of work, the culture of work, the possible issues they're going to come against, I think there's an opportunity to prepare them with hard skills, right? Skills that can be marketable, used, right, in the marketplace. Now, where I am in a country, manufacturing is a huge thing in our country, or in our part of the country. And if there was a deaf organization like yours in our country, you would have a huge opportunity to prepare that particular segment of our population to go into manufacturing spaces, which for those listening to this case study and call is a clean industry now. I mean, manufacturing spaces have to be so clean, particularly ones that manufacture healthcare products and instruments. They have to be so clean that you have to eat off. They be able to eat off the floor. That's how clean it has to be. And so the sterile environment is welcoming. The idea that a deaf person can operate a CNC machine is more than possible. A deaf person can be an auditor or an inspector of product, right? Or a manager of a team. That is something that can happen. And if Nita's Silent Hands, which for those watching, if you go to in silent, spelled as silent night, hands.com, you'll see a little bit more about STAR's program. If Nita's Silent Hands is preparing the deaf community for the world of work with the soft skills and the hard skills to do the work, I think that's a huge opportunity, particularly for deaf teens between the age of 18 and 24. They are at risk of not being involved and included in the workforce. And if you're able to connect with the funder who's funding 18 and 24-year-olds, and you're able to say, hey, I can serve that community, but more specifically, the unique thing about us is that we serve the deaf community, you will garner a lot of attention. You will garner a lot of respect. Now, you're a newer organization, so then the question that you have and most people have is, how do I get from where I am to what you're talking about, Dr. Clark? The thing you got to do is, going back to my first secret, the number one secret to raising money fast: partnerships. If you can connect with other organizations who are bigger and more mature than you, who have bigger resources, and say, I want to offer a workforce development training to the deaf community, and I want to be attached to your organization and be a part of that journey, the right partner will say yes. The right partner will bring you into to a grant opportunity. The right partner will be able to introduce you to funders and partners that can really open the door for you. So this is why I was telling you earlier, you got 20 plus years of experience in this life. You were born in it. You know a lot about it. Partnerships are key now. That is the key. They are key for the consultant side of your business. They are key for the fundraising, grant writing side of your business. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So with 20 seconds left, I mean, any questions I can answer that you think will be helpful, obviously to you, but also people who are watching this particular podcast and our conversation?
I don't know if I really have any questions right now. Some of the things that you said is just, that was some great, great information. And so I'm just ready to take this and kind of go along with it and move forward.
Awesome.
Have you ever wondered how large nonprofits consistently generate millions of dollars? Have you ever wondered how to write the perfect grant, or how to successfully manage a grant, or even how to find money beyond grants? Hi, my name is Dr. William Clark, and I'm the creator and instructor of What You Should Know Before Applying for Grants. This masterclass has over 28 modules of training, and it comes with tools, tips, and tricks on how to generate significant money for your nonprofit. Some students have been fortunate enough to build six-figure programs, and others have been fortunate enough to triple their fundraising results because of this masterclass. Whatever your fundraising goals are, this masterclass can help you achieve them. To register your seat, simply go to mysixfigurefunding.com. That's mysixfigurefunding.com, and you'll be taken immediately into our student portal where you can access all of our trainings. You can take the trainings on demand, at your own pace, and at any time. You even can interact with other students and me all online from the comfort of your home or your office. If you want to secure your seat today for this masterclass, what you should know before applying for grants, simply go to mysixfigurefunding.com. Again, that's mysixfigurefunding.com. And I'm looking forward to learning with you and growing with you as you achieve your fundraising goals for your nonprofit.